This is the story of Al, a farmer who has no other desire than to take good care of his crops so that he could sell them in the town. But in his daily farming, he did not realize that he was getting stronger in doing his daily routine. While he was delivering his vegetables and fruits, a dragon suddenly appeared. There were also 3 people fighting it, but this dragon was too strong for them to defeat. So the farmer thought of getting the dragon's attention by throwing the carrot he was eating. He never thought that it would be so strong and made the dragon explode. Those 3 people saw what happened to the dragon and wondered who did the attack. Al quickly left to avoid being caught and continued his journey to the town. When he was about to enter the town, he saw a man riding a horse and rushing towards his direction. This man was carrying a woman screaming for help. He thought that the woman was abducted, so he quickly saved her. The abductor was forced to fight and tried to get the woman back, but he was unsuccessful. Al knocked him down easily and the woman he saved thanked him. But he quickly left to deliver what he brought. When he was on his way home, he was suddenly stopped by the soldiers guarding the gate. It was by the order of the woman he saved earlier. Then he realized that he had saved a princess. She offered him to work in the palace, but he refused because he was just a farmer and that was all he wanted to do. Because the princess insisted him to work for them, he was offered to farm in a very large land near the palace. But the people he helped earlier to defeat the dragon came, and while the princess was busy talking to them, Al had the opportunity to leave. He thought he had escaped from them, but little did he know that the princess had no plans to stop until he agreed to her request. One day, the king received news that monsters were approaching their kingdom. Their trusted servant advised the king and the princess to leave the palace immediately before the monsters arrived. Because of this, the king and the princess were forced to leave the palace. Al's friend also found out the bad news and immediately told him about it. But he seemed not bothered on the danger coming. Instead, he was worried about his crops, so he quickly went to check them. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that the crops were fine. From a distance, he heard a noise. Then he saw the monsters marching towards the kingdom. He thought he could not do anything about it because he was just a farmer and the kingdom had warriors to fight these creatures. But soon he realized that if something bad happened to the kingdom, he would also lose a place to sell his crops. So he thought of a way to stop this from happening. Meanwhile, the king and the princess began to travel to the place where they would stay for their safety. They were wondering because it did not seem they were going on the right way to get there. The king told their guide to stop, for he would use his power to show the right way. Instead of following the king's order, the true motive of the person they trust was revealed. He suddenly attacked the king and the soldiers who were with them. It turned out to be a monster who planned in killing the king so that he could pretend to be him. The king and princess joined forces to fight the monster, but they could not defeat it. When the monster was about to attack them, Al suddenly came and fought the monster with the hoe he was carrying. Suddenly, the monster has revealed its true form. They could see that its level was too high and they thought it was impossible for Al to beat it. But no matter how strong it was, in just a blow from Al, it was immediately defeated. The other monsters left quickly when they saw that their master had fallen. Because of Al's heroism, the king offered him to serve the kingdom. The king was willing to even offer him a high position that he wanted. But it was still rejected by Al, for he just wanted to be a simple farmer. But the princess has already thought of a way to persuade him. She offered him a huge land for his farming, but with one condition. Al must join the guild as an adventurer. Because he did not want to serve in the kingdom, the princess thought that through this, Al could help and protect the kingdom. Al accepted it as a gratitude for the land that would be awarded to him. Then the princess accompanied him to the guild to officially register his name. He never expected to know that he was famous there because of all he did, including the dragon's defeat. He was like an instant celebrity because of his accomplishments. He also met the 3 adventurers he helped in defeating the dragon, who were Jake, Lamia and Luke. The beautiful Helen explained to him everything he should know in a guild and as an adventurer. As a novice adventurer and for his first mission, he was given an easy job. It was finding a kind of weed. He was also given a cloak that would protect him when he encounters monsters on the road. He immediately left and started searching. When he had completed it, he saw something that resembled a scale. He could not figure out which monster it belonged to because it was not on the list of monsters that he might encounter in the place. While reading the list carefully, a monster suddenly appeared behind him. He was attacked by it. Fortunately, Jake came and immediately killed the monster. Jake was also with Lamia and Luke. Suddenly, they felt a very strong aura and at the same time the earthquakes as if there was something big walking towards them. Then a huge dragon appeared before them. They could not even move because of so much fear. As the dragon continued to walk, it did not seem to notice them. Al tried to check its power level and was surprised by what he saw. When they returned to the guild, they informed the guild master of what they had seen. They mentioned a possible name for this dragon and Helen suddenly remembered something that upset her. Al also showed the scale of the dragon that he saw, then Helen remembered the tragedy that happened to her and her brother, causing her to lose consciousness. The old woman told Al how Helen came to their life 15 years ago. And they did not hesitate to adopt her, but since that day, Helen could not remember anything. So Al decided to find out what really happened to her and what was the dragon had to do with it. He started researching about the dragon and he wanted to know all the remarkable events that happened 15 years ago. So, he begged the librarian to lend him the book that contained the events of this period. But it did not let him borrow the book because his rank was still low and only those in high ranks can read it. Suddenly, the princess arrived that surprised them both. So the princess herself begged the librarian to allow Al see the book he was referring to. The librarian had no choice but to allow Al read it, as long as the princess accompanied him in the library. The princess immediately knew the type of book Al wanted to read and they found it right away. It was the book that tells about what happened in the Hanal village. This book contained the tragedy that befell the people who lived there. They also saw here the scales of the dragon similar to the one seen by Al. People thought that this dragon had been dead for a long time because of the battle with its fellow dragons. But they wonder why this dragon scale was found in the village of Hanal. This was also the reason why this book should not be read by anyone, because it could cause fear to the people if they found out that this dragon was still alive and that it destroyed the village of Hanal. Al thought he needed to visit this village to get more information. The next day he went there with the princess. Al heard a young boy talking as if it was calling him. He followed the voice from where it was coming and when he reached the area, he saw a translucent boy floating on a grave. But the princess could not see it. Then he realized that the boy was a ghost. According to the ghost, he was Helen's younger brother named Rai. Rai immediately noticed Al's cloak. And he thought that maybe it was because of the cloak that Al was wearing that made him see Rai. That's why Al tried to wear it on the princess too, and this made the princess saw Rai. Then Rai told them that Helen was the only one who survived the attack on their village. They also learned that every time this dragon destroys a village, it always leaves one person as a survivor. The dragon wanted this person to spread the news to other people about the survivor's terror experience to make them be afraid for their lives. Rai knew that the dragon gets stronger if there was negative energy around it. He also gave more information to Al, and one of these was the possible way for them to defeat this dragon. With the informations they got, they quickly returned to the kingdom to prepare for a possible attack from the dragon. Al went to Helen but she was not around. They did not know that she went to see the dragon. When Helen met the dragon again, it did nothing but remind her of how Rai died and instill to her mind that she was the reason for her brother's death. Until Helen was discouraged and thought about committing suicide. Before Helen could do this to herself, Al came and stopped her. The dragon suddenly attacked, but with the help of the cloak that Al was wearing he survived. Al retaliated with a blow, but it was no use, for the dragon was really strong. Their battle continued but no one wanted to lose. He suddenly pulled Helen and they ran away from the dragon. Helen still felt like she was to blame for everything that was happening. That's why Al said that he and Rai met. Her brother wanted to tell her that he has no regrets in saving her. He also added that her brother wanted her to live life, for she has the right to be happy. This was Al's way to get rid of Helen's negative feelings that fed the dragon's power. Through this, the dragon gradually weakens to the point where Al could knock it down with his punch. But Helen suddenly stabbed Al. He tried to drink the medicine but just spilled it on the ground. Helen continued in attacking him as he wondered why she was doing this to him. When Helen was about to attack Al again, another dragon suddenly blocked her. It turned out to be the mortal enemy of the evil dragon. This dragon explained to Al that Helen was possessed. It also lent Al its power to defeat the evil dragon that possessed Helen, causing it to weaken and fell. Al used the power, then rushed to Helen and punched her in the stomach. This made her to writhe in pain. Then Al saw in Helen's eyes that she wanted him to finish the dragon inside her, that's why he did not hesitate to do it. He thought the dragon was no longer there, so he tried to get Helen up, but the evil dragon suddenly appeared behind Helen and attacked him. The dragon tried to get hold of Al, but he was surprised to see what was on its mind. He was thinking of nothing else but planting, and the dragon could not figure out Al's weakness. Because of this, it could not possess Al. Suddenly, the white dragon stood up and immediately attacked the evil dragon. Little by little the dark clouds disappeared and the light returned, a sign that they had defeated the evil dragon. When Al woke up, Helen and the princess pretending to be Philia were happy and hugged him. Al thought that if he would woke up like this all the time in the morning, he would no longer a breakfast. He immediately asked what happened to the two dragons and if Helen was okay. Helen showed her hand in the form of a dragon and the two panicked. She told them that she could do this with both of her hands and even on her feet. She added that it was from the power of the evil dragon that possessed her. The guild master and other adventurers came and checked on Helen too. They celebrated the defeat of the evil dragon, but Al's thoughts were still on his farm. The next day, Al returned to farming, and while he and his friend were walking, someone gave him a letter. This letter was from his father and they wanted him to visit them. While he was walking, the tomatoes in a stall caught his attention. He was impressed by its color and shape. He also enjoyed the taste, so he asked the seller where he got his supplies. According to the salesman, it was from Lurugus and they were using an unusual fertilizer that made tomatoes taste delicious. Al immediately left and asked permission to the guild that he was going to visit his parents who now live in Lurugus. He added that it was also his chance to buy the fertilizers for his plants. Since Al still have jobs that had not been completed, Helen volunteered to do it with the help of the power she got from the dragon. After he left the guild, he saw Philia. She also told him about her departure. But Philia wanted to come with him. Unfortunately, he did not allow her. She kept on insisting on joining the trip, so Al ran away from her. In his journey, he met a monster on the road and it chased after him, but it still caught him. Fortunately, a woman helped him and the monster was killed immediately. This girl introduced herself as Ruri and they got to know each other. They both found out that they were going to the same place and decided to go there together. They immediately started walking and by the afternoon they felt something approaching them. It turned out to be the messenger and it was carrying a letter from Al's mother. Because it was getting dark, they decided to spend the night there. While they were eating, he asked Ruri why she was heading to Lurugus. Then she answered that she was traveling for her training. And aside from this, she also heard from a merchant an interesting news about Lurugus. These bad news were accidents which causes could not be determined, and according to one victim, he allegedly saw a demon. Al asked why she was doing this even though it was so dangerous for her. Then Ruri said that she possessed the blood of the hero who once defeated the Demon King. Al was amazed to know that he was with a direct descendant of a hero. She also wanted to use the power she inherited from her ancestor to help others. After their talk they went to sleep, but Al could not sleep because of Ruri's sleeping behavior. When they arrived at Lurugus, they decided to go to their respective destinations. But before they parted, Al decided to make Ruri an escort when he returned home and if Ruri finished her investigation. Ruri started to investigate, but no matter who she asked, they did not know about the news she received. Suddenly, she heard a woman's cry and quickly went to her. According to the woman, the demon took her younger brother. It pointed to the path the demon had taken and she immediately left to chase it. While Al found the house that his parents moved into. His mother greeted him and hugged him tightly. And when his father got out, he greeted him with a punch because he did not recognize his son. His mother was so angry at what his father did to him, so she beat her husband. After the weird family reunion, Al and his father talked and he asked him where he could buy the fertilizer he was looking for. They also discussed what Ruri mentioned to him about the news spreading in the area, but his father did not know about it either. Even the hotel where Ruri was going to stay was not familiar to his father. He even walked around and could not find any hotel in the area which was similar to the description. The next day after Al got his fertilizers, he saw a man surrounded by people. He said that he was allegedly attacked by a demon and that he was able to escape when a blue-haired woman fought it off. Al immediately asked where he saw it and it pointed in the direction which was the same as the woman said to Ruri. He quickly went to it, but it turned out to be a trap. When he got there, he saw the woman that Ruri talked to earlier. She was attacked by the monster and Al immediately saved her. But this woman also became a monster like the one he punched. As he was about to be eaten by the monster, Ruri came and immediately killed it. The man who set the trap for both of them appeared and introduced himself as Loki. He also knew about Al's victory against the former first commander of the Demon King and the malevolent dragon. Ruri charged at him, but he just dodged it. Then he countered with an attack that knocked Ruri down. Al immediately came to Ruri and healed her. After that, he and Loki fought, but no one wanted to be defeated. Loki said that he wanted to remove everyone who would interfere with his plans. And this includes Al, Ruri and Helen because of the power she gained from the malevolent dragon. Loki continued to attack them with his monsters. Because he was having hard time to defeat them, Loki used his bombs and blew them. Then two monsters attacked from below and caught Al. When Loki was about to take Ruri's life, the two monsters suddenly died. This was because of the fertilizer that Al was carrying called Nagari and could be used as a pesticide. Al fought him again when suddenly Ruri stabbed Loki from behind. It did not work on Loki, but Ruri released a strong power called the power of the good god. She repeatedly attacked Loki until he got defeated and disappeared. Al lost his consciousness, and when he woke up he was surprised to see Ruri next to him. While they were walking home, Ruri heard someone talking. She was scared because she was thinking that it might be a ghost. But it turned out to be Al's mother who was looking for him. Al immediately picked up Ruri and ran away because Ruri might be beaten if his mother saw them together. When they arrived at the hotel where Ruri was staying, it disappeared. The next day, Al bid goodbye to his parents and leave carrying the fertilizers he bought. As agreed, he met Ruri on the road and they went on the journey together. When they arrived in the kingdom, he also took her to the guild and introduced her to Helen. At the farm, he caught a boy stealing his crops. Because the boy was hungry, he felt pity and gave him cabbage. According to Helen, there were food shortage due to monsters' attacks while he was in Lurugus. The entry of food from other countries was also stopped, so it resulted in the increase of the price of goods that the poor people could no longer buy them. They heard the sound of a bell, a sign that there were monsters attacking the kingdom. They immediately returned to help prevent the monsters from entering the kingdom. Due to the large number of monsters, they find it difficult to defeat them. Until an army led by the wielder of the sacred sword arrived, and with just one word, the monsters immediately retreated. While Al was cleaning the hoe, the princess visited him to say goodbye for her departure because she said she would not be coming back. Her assistant came to pick her up and there was nothing Al could do to stop her. The next day he was visited by the boy who stole his crops and with its mother. His mother apologized for what her son had done and also thanked him for the cabbage he gave them. After the mother and its son left, Al was surprised when the messengers suddenly appeared next to him. He received a letter from his mother and was surprised when the messenger showed him something. While Helen and Ruri were eating at the guild, Helen read the news that the princess was getting married. And the one she would be marrying was the prince of the Antisburg kingdom. Then Ruri remembered that this was the one who led the army that helped them repel the monsters with its sacred sword. They were wondering and find it suspicious that the prince was able to make the monsters retreat with his words alone. The monsters could not understand the words of humans, and surprisingly the monsters obeyed his words immediately. Al came and asked them if they saw Philia, which the girls still did not know that this was the Princess Fal. Helen said that she had not seen her 10 days ago. Al also showed them the letter from his mother. Because his mother heard about the attack by the monsters, she also found out about the sacred sword that was made to scare away the monsters. According to Al's mother, this sword was fake and had no power, for she knew where it was made. His mother also mentioned that because she used to be the commander of the shadow puppets, she was able to figure it out easily. Helen and Ruri were surprised to read the word, shadow puppets. While Al had no idea what his mother was talking about regarding these group. According to Helen, it was an intelligence unit that had the ability to obtain information no matter how confidential it was. It was also mentioned in the letter that there was a demon who ordered to attack the kingdom of Magus. This demon was doing it because his loved one was taken hostage and was just following the orders of the one who held its loved one. Because of this, Ruri came to the conclusion that it was the Antisburg kingdom which was responsible in using the demon to attack the Magus kingdom. And as a way to show gratitude to them in pretending to help the Magus kingdom, the prince demanded a marriage between him and the princess. Al said that he should save Fal. The two were surprised because Al just called the princess by her name as if they already knew each other. And Al immediately denied it and said that since he was a citizen of the kingdom he should help the princess. The two agreed with him, and together with the messenger Reeks, they immediately planned how they could save the princess. Meanwhile, the Prince Netulus had a meeting with the leaders of different countries to ask for protection. The prince was even laughing at them because he was able to make them follow using a fake sword. He planned an attack on another country using the monsters of the demon Gazelle that Al's mother mentioned in her letter. But Gazelle could no longer accept his demands, which caused the murder of his colleagues and the innocent people. The prince slapped him and threatened him using the one Gazelle loved. The princess entered to stop him when she saw the prince was hurting someone. Suddenly, one of his soldiers came and informed the prince that the carriage for the ceremony had a problem. The prince was angry and immediately ordered to have the carriage fixed. So, the soldier of the kingdom of Antisburg sent a letter, and it went to the messenger, Reeks. Reeks wanted them to proceed to Antisburg first with the carriage, and he will gather the monsters to show the people that the sword was fake. If it was proven that the sword was fake, the ceremony would definitely be cancelled. Helen asked Reeks how he could gather the monsters. Reeks answered and said that he was also a demon and a member of the shadow puppets. The three were shocked when they found out about this, and Reeks also mentioned that the demon Gazelle was in love with a human. Since Gazelle had also lived with humans for a long time, he also knew how Gazelle felt whenever he was ordered to attack a kingdom that killed the innocent people. When they entered Antisburg Kingdom, they were immediately suspected and chased by the soldiers. Then Helen throws Al into the building where the hostage or Gazelle's lover was imprisoned. The soldiers immediately went to the tower, so Al quickly attacked them with the vegetables he was carrying. Because of the heavy object tied to the woman's leg, he lifted her so that they could get out of the building. The three of them met while being chased by soldiers, and they reached the church. Al continued while Helen and Ruri confronted the soldiers and used themselves as baits to gain their attention. While inside the church, the wedding ceremony began. When the prince was about to kiss the princess, the church's door flew and hit the prince. The princess was surprised and cried when she saw Al, but the prince got in between. Al revealed to the people that the sword was fake, and the prince just laughed at him. He challenged Al if he could prove that the sword it when suddenly one of his soldiers came and informed them about the attack of the monsters. People panicked and wanted the prince to use the sacred sword to destroy the monsters. He called Gazelle to get the sword, but he saw him reunited with its lover. The prince was surprised when his hostage got there, and Reeks came to give him the sacred sword. The prince hesitated to hold the sword until Al took it and threw it at the incoming monster. The monster just destroyed it, and Al proved in front of many people that the sword was fake. So Gazelle used his flute to order the beast to retreat. He also told everyone about the frauds that the prince had done and the reason why he was forced to let the monsters attack other kingdoms. The prince suddenly laughed because it was too late, because he let the monsters invade the Magus kingdom the other night. Helen and Ruri came and said that the Magus kingdom did not fall. Because after the attack by the monsters, the adventurers and the soldiers asked Ruri to teach them more about fighting skills, for they wanted to protect the kingdom. When the soldiers arrived, the prince thought they would help him, but it turned out that they already knew the prince's lies. The prince was about to stab the king but was stopped by a vegetable thrown by Al. He was punched by Al for the bad things he had done. The princess hugged Al, which made him happy but angered Ruri, so he pretended to keep the princess away. When the king came out, Reeks met him and handed him a letter. According to Reeks, it was for the prince, and the letter contained some plans made by the prince and its ally. The letter was also from someone unidentified. The king immediately found out that Reeks was a member of the shadow puppets. So Reeks warned the king to be careful because someone else was manipulating the prince's plans. The princess visited the guild to give them a reward as a gratitude for their efforts in protecting the kingdom. Meanwhile, Ruri and the princess appeared in the person of Philia, followed Al, and even at the farm. They wanted him to choose between them, but Al could not answer. They asked Al if he might be in love with another woman, and he replied that he was. Al left immediately after he got vegetables, and he offered these vegetables to someone named Ilvia. In the past, Al had been planting crops already. he first saw Ilvia when she was arrested for stealing vegetables. She got loose and took the potatoes that Al was supposed to give to the couple. He followed this girl and brought her a soup. Because Ilvia was elusive, Al put the soup on the ground and left immediately. The next day, Al came back with more food for her. When he came back the other day, Ilvia showed up and they talked. Suddenly, the people she robbed the other day came and planned to sell her to the slave trader. Al begged them to let Ilvia go and said that he would pay for what she stole from them. Al's father came and discussed with them what happened. When Al's father heard the situation, he decided to give the rice he was carrying as compensation for what Ilvia stole, and the two men immediately accepted it. Then Ilvia also returned the potatoes she took from Al. Al decided to take it and said that they would make soup from it every day. On that day, their family also adopted Ilvia. 2 years later, while they were at the farm, they saw Al's friend, Testa, running and being chased by killer bees. Fortunately, their mother arrived and immediately killed all the killer bees. Then his parents left to find a new place to move in. Al asked Testa why the killer bees were chasing him when it was not usually seen in the area. Testa showed the map of the treasure that can be found in the forest behind the village. They both decided to go there and they left Ilvia in the farm. While walking in the forest, Testa mentioned to Al the bad treatment of other children to Ilvia. Then he realized the reason why his parents were always looking for a place to move to, because it was also for Ilvia's sake. When they got close to what was indicated on the map, they stepped on something that cracked the big rock and they fell. They were surprised by what they saw inside, and Testa found a stone with writings that they could not read. When Al touched it, it suddenly lit up. Then he saw a monster and this made him unconscious. When he woke up, their village was filled with ash from the volcanic eruption since the day he lost consciousness. The people were greatly affected due to the destruction of their main livelihood. The houses and even the bridge leading to the kingdom were also damaged. The leader of their village was trying to divide evenly the remaining food that they had saved. They went to their crops, but those were also damaged due to the ashes. While watching it, Al's chest suddenly hurt and he became weak. By nightfall, Ilvia was planning to steal the food while their leader was sleeping, but she remembered Al's words. Because Al was still weak, Ilvia combined the food for both of them and gave it all to him. She did this every day until her body gave up due to malnutrition. Testa went to Al and immediately informed him about Ilvia. Al wondered how this happened to her, as there was food from the kingdom, as Ilvia always said whenever she would give him his share. Until he found out that Ilvia was just lying, and that's why he was surprised, because his food was more than usual. At present, while Al was on his way home after killing the dragon, he saw an unconscious woman on the road. He brought her to his house, and when this girl woke up, she thought she had been kidnapped by him. He immediately explained and told her that he was an adventurer. This girl introduced herself as Linnea and said she was on her way to the guild because she had a request. Since Al also had to go to the guild, he decided that they would go there together. Ruri arrived and was surprised to see a woman at Al's house. She mistakenly thought different between Al and the girl and went away from the house. When they arrived at the guild, they talked to Helen about Linnea's request, and Al decided that he would do it himself. He was surprised when Linnea said that it was in Gull Town because this place was known for their tasty asparagus. While they were on their way to Gull Town, as they ride in a carriage, the orcs chased them and Al suddenly passed out. When he woke up, he was wearing a necklace just like Linnea's. She told him that it has a mentally calming effect. When they arrived at Gull Town, Al wondered why the guards were holding mops. Al also noticed that the people there were acting weird. Suddenly, two people picked him up because they mistook him as luggage. When he went back to her, Linnea took him to their house to rest. He also showed him the pendants from their store. She also showed the pendant similar to the one they were wearing that contained the divine protection of good God. And maybe this was also the reason why they did not become like the other people in the area. Al asked about her parents' whereabouts, and she said that she did not know where they were either. She added that since the people of the area started to change, they escaped somewhere else. When they went outside, he met the chief of the town, Lemeru. He invited Al to dinner at his mansion, but two people picked him again. Before they went to the mansion, Linnea said something to Al. She wondered why Lemeru still stayed in the area and did not seem like asked for help from other towns either. According to Al, they might get information when they go to the mansion. When they arrived at the mansion, Al immediately asked Lemureau about the strange happenings in the town. Then he was surrounded by the spears of Lemureau's soldiers. But Al defeated them easily and rushed to attack at Lemureau, but Linnea blocked him. Lemureau praised and thanked Linnea for her accomplishments, and because of this their plans were developing faster than expected. A demon called Vritra appeared to them, and it turned out that he was controlling Lemureau. The demon said that he turned his power into a stone and placed it in the statue at the middle of the town so that all the people would be affected by it. He said he would also do it to the royal capital, for he heard of someone who defeated a demon and a dragon. He wanted to control this person as well. Then Al found out that this demon had taken Linnea's parents as hostage to force her do what he wanted. When Vritra was about to try to control him with the stone, Al broke the stone he was holding and at the same time damaged the statue that Vritra had placed his power in. Al did that to give a signal to his friends and destroy the statue. Vritra exclaimed that this was impossible because Linnea watched over him the whole time. But Al said that she was not able to look after him twice, and those were the times when two people lifted him up and brought him far from her. Those snatchers were Helen and Ruri, who followed him because they were worried about Al. They also discovered the source of the power that controlled the people, which came from the statue. He was told that they would immediately destroy it if Al can prove that the leader of the area, Lemureau, had something to do about it. Because Linnea's parents were already rescued by Helen and Ruri, Vritra took Lemureau as a hostage. Al fed Lemureau with the delicious asparagus and Vritra suddenly lost control over him. Then Al took the opportunity to attack Vritra and defeated it. Before Al went home, another girl was added on the list of those who admired him. While Al's 3 girlfriends were at the farm to help him, Fal noticed a necklace that Helen and Ruri were wearing. They said that Al gave it to them while they were helping him in Gull Town. Suddenly they heard Al scream and immediately went to rescue him. It turned out that it was just because of a plant called dark vines that affected his crops from growing. After harvest, the girls were also helping Al in selling his crops. The king passed by pretending to be an ordinary citizen and bought something from him. Before the king left, Al was offered to marry the princess and everything was said to be ready. But Al rejected it because he was not ready for it. According to the king, he would once again give him land so he could cultivate it and some new farming equipments. Al was attracted to it, but Ruri tried to stop him from saying yes. Fal threw a potato at Ruri for holding him back, but Al was hit instead and lost consciousness. He had dreams of a woman who looks like an angel and she told him something. He suddenly woke up but saw the king by his side, then he said that he would think about its offer. When Al's supplies ran out, he bought herbicide to get rid of the dark vines. He met Reeks and they noticed a girl who was being forced by the men to come with them. Al approached them and saved the girl by fighting these men. When Al approached the girl, he immediately noticed her horns. Reeks recognized her and it turned out to be Princess Yulia, who was the daughter of the Demon King. When he told Yulia that Al did not hate demons, she immediately asked for help to save the demons. She said that Volpe, the one taking care of her, took her to this world because it was dangerous to be in the demons' world. So they thought that something bad was happening there. Al agreed to go to the demons' world and begged Reeks to remove the dark vines in his farm. They immediately left, and when they arrived, Volpe met them. She suddenly attacked them and they both fought until he knocked her down. When Al approaches Yulia, Volpe woke up and tried to attack Al again. But suddenly Al's mother came and immediately put Volpe to sleep. She told Al that she immediately headed there when Reeks said that he was on his way to the demon world. They also found out that Volpe was being controlled by someone else. They went to the palace and saw the fallen bodies of soldiers. Yulia immediately went to her father and saw him lying on the floor. When Al was talking to a soldier, Al's mother was about to kill Yulia using a sword, but he stopped her. He already felt that she was not his real mother from the moment they met because she did not hug him tightly like his mother always did. The woman suddenly changed its form and became Ilvia. Al was surprised because she should be dead. But Ilvia had changed and replied that it was thanks to the great evil god. She showed the power she received from the evil god and aimed it at Yulia. Luckily he saved her right away, but the attack caused extensive damage. Ilvia was amazed that Al was able to save Yulia even though the power of the great evil god was still sealed in its body. Al could not understand what she meant by those words. She added that he was able to get stronger quickly because of the evil god's power too. Al asked how did this happen to him when he had never faced this evil god himself. She replied that he had already faced him and if he joined them, she would tell him everything he wanted to know. Ilvia almost made Al agree because she hypnotized him, but Yulia screamed, which made him back to his senses. She got pissed by the girl, so she grabbed Yulia and Al was about to save her, but Ilvia stopped him. As she was about to kill the young princess, the necklace that Al was wearing suddenly lit up and the time stopped. Suddenly someone spoke, which surprised him. When he turned around, he saw the woman with wings. According to this woman, she was known by the people as the good god. She also stopped time, but it was only temporary. She told him that she would try to remove the evil god's power from his body and replaced it with her power. So she asked for Al's hand and gave him the power to deflect the enemy's attacks. If the time resumed, she told him that he should be able to save Yulia. When he returned to the real time, Al immediately used the power given by the good god, but only plants came out. Ilvia thought it was a weak attack, but she was tied down by the plants, causing her to let go of Yulia. She rushed again but was only blocked by Al's plants. Until these plants attacked her and wrapped around her body. Volpe arrived and made an attack to Ilvia too. But it did not affect her, so she was countered by Ilvia. As she was about to kill Volpe, she stopped when Al shouted. Ilvia suddenly lost her interest to fight, so she told them she would leave by now. The Demon King woke up and they talked about Ilvia and the evil god. The Demon King said that he did not know anything about the evil god, and if he gathered any information about it, he would immediately inform Al. As Al walks home, he thought about everything Ilvia said. He also remembered the stone he and Testa saw and even the scary creature. He saw Testa, who was busy at the farm, and they talked about those time when they went to the cave. Al mentioned the evil god, but he immediately retracted what he said. After Al left and was about to head to the royal capital, a female orc chased him. He punched it, but he did not kill it, so he was chased again. Luckily, Jake's group was there and the orc was killed by them. They noticed that Al struggled whenever he encountered an orc. When they arrived at the guild, he discussed about it to Helen and Ruri. Helen found it surprising because Al should be able to knock down an orc with just one attack. He showed them the level of his power and they noticed that his power decreased a lot compared before. Al thought that maybe it was because his ability called One Who Loves Nature had been lost after the good god took it away. But according to Helen, his power was still high compared to an ordinary adventurer. Reeks arrived and delivered a letter to Al from his mother. Then Fal or Philia came and invited him to go for a walk outside. Ruri and Helen did not agree on this, so the three girls got into a fight. Despite the questions in Al's mind about Ilvia and the evil god, these people around him were more important to him now. He thought that it would be fine as long as he could strengthen his farming power and he was with his friends. I hope you liked this story and give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss new uploaded videos. Thank you for watching.